Whoa, we already achieved a lot here. We learned a lot about animations and transitions. Now before I come to animating groups of elements, which we can't do right now, the best we can do is switch between two or multiple elements, but only one may be displayed at all times. So before I come to do a different component which allows us to animate different pieces or elements in our code at the same time, let me show you a different thing or a different part of Vue.js which we may animate or which we may transition. We transition between different HTML elements right now. Now there's one thing we learned about in the component section which would be perfect to transition between. I'm not talking about components because we could use them like normal HTML elements here. I'm talking about dynamic components. So dynamic components would also make up for a great transition task. Now let's do this. For this, I will first quickly add two new components, a danger alert component, and you might be able to guess what this will hold. It will hold a template where I will simply have a bootstrap class with alert and then alert danger. This is dangerous maybe. Whoops, dangerous. And I don't need any script here because, well, I don't want to have any specific logic in there. I only want to have the template to demonstrate this. And I will also have my success alert, let's say success alert.view. So here we would then have our template where we say this is successful, like this. Now I got two new components and I want to switch between them here by having a look at my dynamic components. To use dynamic components, I first need to register them as components, and I'll do this locally here in my Vue instance. So I'll add my components key here to register both my danger alert, which I need to import then, and my success alert, which I'll also need to import. So let me add these imports up here real quick. So here we need to import the danger alert from the danger alert.view file, and down there we also want to import the success alert. And that allows me to hook them up to my properties down there in the components object. Here I will have the danger alert and of course also the success alert. Now that both components are available, I will add a new property here to my data object, which is the selected component. And by default, that shall be, let me also change these names to be app danger alert. Now that I think about it, that would be more in line to also have this app prefix. So here the selected component shall be app success alert with dashes in between, because again, this is what Vue.js enables us to use when setting up our property names like this down there. So now this is the default selected component. For my dynamic component added with this component keyword and then with colon is dynamically bound to selected component like that. Now I also want to add a button which allows me to switch between both. So here I will have my button with button primary, and here I simply want to toggle my components. Of course, you could also use a drop down instead, but I'm going to use it like this. And here I simply want to have a click listener where I check if selected component equals app success alert. If that is the case, then I want to set selected component, and now this is getting really long, I apologize for this, app danger alert. Otherwise, separated with the colon here, I want to set selected component equal to app success alert. So this is really just toggling between the two components I'm importing here. Now, if I go to the application, we can see this down here. I can switch between both, and I should maybe go to my success alert and change this to alert success to make it green. Also add another horizontal line, but now it really looks great. So this works. Now I want to animate this. Now to animate it, I'll go back in my application. And in here, of course, I wrap this in a transition element like we learned before. So here, whoops, like this. What I want to do though is I now want to transition my component or my dynamic component. And I can do this just by using name, fade, for example, again, to use this fade animation I already set up. And now if we load this again, we already see we get this working, though we get this ugly jump again. So to avoid this, I'll again set the mode to out in as before. And now we're able to use this just like we used the two divs before. But now this dynamic component. And here, of course, we could have multiple dynamic components because it will ensure that only one is loaded at a time. And that is the only thing transition cares about. Not between how many elements you're switching, but that in the end, you're only displaying one at a time. Well, we're going to leave this one at a time zone with the next widgets though, where we will have a look at how we can animate lists or generally groups of items.